Hey, good dudes, genuine followers, and constructive critics. At the outset, I wish you and your beloved your safe journey in 2021, in spite of the second corona wave sweeping India with high mortality besides other natural calamities. The social activist, Tambun-hearted preacher, Professor Eswara is back with altruistic delight for my 146 video, which is in pipeline for publication on YouTube day 9th July 2021, Friday. The topic for today is violation of fundamental human rights. At the outset, I wish to reiterate the fact that democracy means for the people, by the people, of the people. Prime fundamental rights of human beings are right to privacy, right to education, right to information, freedom of expression and thoughts and feelings, freedom of speech, right to follow the religion of their preference, right to dignity, equal and fair treatment, equal opportunity in all walks of life, right to apparel and formal or informal accepted by the society, freedom to communicate in any language of your choice. This list is certainly not exhaustive, as you know. Even these rights are violated blatantly in developing democracies, including India. It is difficult to reach a consensus on the definition of democracy. However, the main idea of democracy is widely accepted to have originated from Athens in the 5th century BC. The Webster New Encyclopedic Dictionary 1995 defines democracy as a government in which supreme power is invested in the people and exercised by them directly or indirectly through representation. According to Lindell and Scott 1999, the term originated from the Greek word demokratia, rule of the people, which was coined from demos, people, and kratos, power or rule, in the 5th century. It is important to note that the political system postulated by the Athenians was such that democratic citizenship was exclusive to an elite class of free men only. Slaves and women were excluded from participation. In a lecture titled What is Democracy? Larry gave an overview of what is his opinion is democracy. He describes democracy as a system of government with four key elements: a system for choosing and replacing the government through free and fair elections, active participation of the people as citizens in politics and civil life, protection of the human rights of all citizens, and a rule of law in which the laws and procedure apply equally to all citizens. Popper, as cited in JV, defines democracy in contrast to dictatorship or tyranny. He places emphasis on the availability of opportunities for the people to control the leaders and to them without recourse to a revolution. Popper's view must have hinged on the fact that there are many variants of democracy today. The dominant variable is what he terms the direct democracy. Variant, I would say, not variable. Variant is what he terms the direct democracy in which all citizens of a country are given direct and active participation in the decision-making process of the country. Another variant is a representative democracy in which the whole body of eligible citizens remain the sovereign power, but political power is exercised indirectly through elected representatives. According to Encyclopedia Britannica, the concept of representative democracy arose largely from ideas developed during the Middle Ages, the Reformation, the age of enlightenment, and the American and French revolutions. Dahl, Shapiro, Shabib state that in a representative every vote has equal weight. No unreasonable restrictions can apply to anyone seeking to become a representative, and the freedom of its eligible citizens is secured by legitimate rights and liberties, which are typically protected by a constitution. An offshoot of this variant is the Westminster system as practiced in the UK with a sovereign monarch, parliamentary participation, and judicial. This is totally different from the democracy practiced in the USA, which practices separation of powers between these three arms of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. A common characteristic of all the variants of democracies discussed above is that representative democracy allows elections which promote equality among all eligible citizens in all respects and also ensures that the rules of all elections are clear, set out in advance, and do not privilege any group or individual over another. In furtherance to this, Kelson and Barak assert that representative democracy, which allows freedom of political expression, freedom of speech, and freedom of the press, are considered to be the essential rights that allow eligible citizens to be adequately informed and able to vote according to their own interests. From the foregoing, one can conclude the basic feature of democracy, according to Nussbaum, is the capacity of all voters to participate freely and fully in the life of the society, and that democracy is a form of government in which all eligible citizens have an equal say in law making. It might be necessary at this stage to highlight another key word in our quest to discuss democracy. This is simply the concept of politics. The term politics is derived from the Greek word polis. According to Crick, the simplest perception of politics is that it is about the relationship of rulers to the ruled, the too few, too many, them and us, government and its subjects of the state and its citizens. Apadurai states that when a body of people is clearly organized as a unit for purposes of government, then it is said to be political. His opinion to be more evident according to him when it is realized that every man desires to have his own, to think and act as he likes in society, where one man's desires may conflict with those of others. This, he reasons, necessitates the regulation of the behaviors of the individual members of the society to promote a good relation. Apadurai further states that politics as a discipline is exact science. Nothing is pure art or pure science. Like physics and chemistry, because the material with which it deals is incapable of being treated in the same exact way. As a result, politics is a social science, because the motives which led men to act no less than the consequences of these acts are so complex and variable that it is difficult to predict the others, since social phenomena are quite difficult to control. Chakravarti lends a voice by stating that the speculative character of the subject, politics, coupled with the lack of order and continuity in the phenomena of the state, compels the educationist to deny it the character of a science. He asserts that the word politics today refers to current problems of a country which engage the serious attention of the government. Wikipedia, for a free press, sees politics as a practice and theory of influencing other people on a civic or individual level. It further states that politics refers to achieving and exercising positions of governance, organized control over a human and even fashion human community, particularly a state. Politics is applied to other areas of human endeavor, such as entertainment, education, food, and even fashion, art, science, and literature, where democratic processes are used to reach decisions. This explains why Vaidra maintains the development of democracy should be seen as an ongoing process of meaning formation. A static concept. His reason is that power emanates from the people, but it is the power of nobody, since there is no such thing as the people or demos. He opines that democratic political figures are not supreme rulers, rather they are temporary guardians of an empty place. Any claim to substance, such as the collective good, the public interest, or the welfare of the nation, is subject to the competitive struggle and sometimes for gaining the authority of office and government. He stated that the essence of democratic system is empty place, void of real people, which can only be temporarily filled and never be appropriated. The seat of power is the, according to him, but remains open. As such, democratic progresses to be seen as a continual and potentially never-ending process of social which gives room for divergent opinions. At this stage, it may be necessary to examine another keyword, the dissenting opinions. A dissenting opinion, or dissent, according to Wikipedia Free Press, is an opinion in a legal case written by one or more judges expressing disagreement with the majority opinion gives rise to its judgment. When not necessarily referring to a legal decision, state that this can also be referred to as a minority report. The dictionary cited above further state that the dissenting opinion does not create binding precedent or not does it become a part of a case law, yet can be cited from time to time as a persuasive authority when arguing for the overturning of the court's holding. We noted the dissenting opinion. Minority reports are always written at the same time as a majority opinion, defining democracy as a system in which people have the opportunity of accepting or rejecting the leaders to a competitive electoral process. Peter subscribes to a new understanding of democracy should put emphasis on aggregation of preferences, taking place through political parties for which people have the capacity to vote at regular intervals. Let me know how many recognized political parties are in existence in India as of today. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia, defines democratization as the transition to a more democratic political regime. This may be a transition from an authoritarian regime to a full democracy and a transition from an authoritarian political system to a semi-democracy, or a transition from a semi-authoritarian political system to a democratic political system. The encyclopedia further states that the outcome of the democratization process may be considered consolidated or may face frequent reversals. No matter the angle one looks at it, democratization is influenced by various factors, including economic development, education, and civil society. Now, the factors responsible for democratization is traceable to economic development. According to Sen, economic development is a sustained, concerted action of policymakers and communities that promotes the standard of living and economic health of people. Actions, according to Sen, can stimulate the development of human capital, critical infrastructure, and regional competitiveness. He describes this economic growth as an aspect of the process of economic development. Adam et al. Also state that economic development either increases chances for a transition to democracy or helps newly established democracies to consolidate. Wealth, according to Pressworthy, also correlates with education as a factor of economic development. According to them, a poorly educated and illiterate population may affect populist politicians who on election abandon democracy and become dictators, even when there were free and fair elections. The third factor described as a resource curse theory, which suggests that countries with abundant natural resources such as oil often fail to democratize. The elite can live off the natural resources rather than depend on popular support for tax revenues. On the other than Ace, Moglo, and Robinson opinion that elites who invested in the physical capital rather than in land or oil fear that the investment can be easily damaged in a case of a revolution. As a result, they would make concessions and democracy and risk a violent clash with the opposition. The oil curse, according to Investopedia, is described as a paradox of plenty, as skilled workers from other sectors of the economy migrate to the resource sector. The result is higher wages, which gives rise to inflation. Netherlands is cited as a country which suffered from the democracy of large deposits of gas. This explains why Ross states that countries rich in petroleum have less democracy, less economic stability, and more frequent civil wars than countries without oil. Again, according to A. Smuglo and Robinson, when there is social equality, egalitarian societies thrive, have fewer incentives to revolt. They are of the opinion that democratization emerges in countries where elites offer concessions because they consider the threat of a revolution credible. The cost of the concessions is not too high. The press for a very long time has been a means of bringing out the nationalist tendencies in many developing countries to the world. To Caramel, just as everyone needs food, clothing, and shelter, survival as well as communication, an indispensable factor for the social welfare of the people. He goes on to state the mass media attempt reaching out to a large audience through advertising, marketing, political communication. From the foregoing, one can infer that access to information is a prerequisite for the growth of democracy in the following ways. Mass media enables citizens of a particular country make guided choices rather than opting for ignorance. Constant release of information is a check on elected representatives of office that carrying out the wishes of the electorate. Political corruption is abuse of powers by government officials for illegitimate private gain. Corruption is the root cause of all evil in society. The democratic form of government is an institutional configuration that allows for popular participation through the electoral process. According to political scientist Robert Dahl, the democratic ideal is based on two principles: political participation and political contestation. Political participation requires that all people who are eligible to vote can vote. Elections must be free, fair, and competitive. Once the votes have been cast, and the power must be peacefully transferred from one individual to another. These criteria to be replicated on a local, state, and national level. A more robust conceptualization of democracy emphasizes what Dahl refers to as political contestation. Contestation refers to the ability of people to express their discontent through freedom of speech and press. People should have the ability to meet and discuss their views on political fear of persecution from the state. Democratic regimes that guarantee both electoral freedoms and civil rights are referred to as liberal democracies. The subfield of comparative politics, there is a rich body of literature dealing specifically with the intricacies of the democratic form of government. These scholarly works draw distinctions between democratic regimes based on representative government, the institutional balance of power, and the electoral procedure. There are many states of democracy, each of which has its own benefits and disadvantages. The broadest differentiation that scholars make between democracies is based on the nature of representative government. There are two categories: direct democracy and representative democracy. Direct democracy places all power in the hands of the individual. When political decisions must be made, all members of a polity gather together and individuals cast a vote. In theory, this sounds like the ideal form of government. There are no intermediaries. Is treated as an equal, and each person is given a chance to directly influence the policy making process. In practice, however, the system is hard to implement. Historically, small political communities tend to use direct democracy. Small towns are indigenous communities where everyone knows one another and the issues and the debate directly as arrangement is ideal. Such an arrangement is ideal. However, once there is an expansion in the size of the electorate and the scope of the policy areas, direct democracy can become unwieldy. The second major type of democracy is referred to as representative democracy. This political arrangement establishes an intermediary political actor between the individual and the policy outputs of the state. So, through the electoral process, one person or a group of people are elected and assigned with the task of making decisions on behalf of a group of citizens that they represent. In the United States, there are multiple intermediaries. Each state has two representatives in the upper house or Senate. In the lower house or House of Representatives, the number of intermediaries appointed is based on the population size of each state. It is important that while the power of the individual is diminished slightly, political representatives are still beholden in the group that they represent, also known as their constituency. The broad category of types of democracy can be further divided into systems of democracy. There are two subcomponents of the representative type: the parliamentary system and presidential system. There is one system, subcomponent of the direct type, which is mixed regime. The factors that distinguish one system from another are electoral procedure, the distribution of power between the executive and the parliament, and the role of political parties. All systems are fully functioning legislatures specialize in the following tasks: managing the budget, helping to form public opinion, representing the public at large, and controlling the government. There are more parliamentary systems in the world than presidential democracies. As the name suggests, parliamentary systems are distinct because of the power that they place in the hands of the legislative branch. Examples of this type of system are Germany and the United Kingdom. This institutional configuration involves voters selecting parliamentary representatives. The party that wins the largest number of congressional state seats and selects the head of government, also known as the prime minister, chancellor, or premier. One characteristic that is specific to the system of government is executive. The split executive consists of the head of government and the head of state. As a member of parliament, MP, the head of government controls the legislative process and sets the policy-making agenda. The head of state serves as a ceremonial representative of the country. The electoral process in parliamentary systems influences the power dynamics between the executive, head of government, and the legislature. While these branches of government are distinct entities, in many ways they are fused together because the prime minister is powered by members of his or her own party or a coalition containing his or her own party. There are always commonalities in opinion across various policy areas. The legislature is neither the commander-in-chief nor does it have the ability to appoint and dismiss members of the cabinet. These are executive responsibility. What is important here is the common party affiliation. This commonality leads to cooperative relationship. When disagreements arise between the legislature and the prime minister, which is inevitable, the power of the parliament reigns supreme. There are fewer presidential democracies in the world, and they are centrally located in the Americas. Scholars claim that while parliamentary democracies are more representative, they are also less stable for many of the reasons cited above. Presidential systems which concentrate power in the executive branch tend to be less representative and more stable. Unlike parliamentary democracies where elections happen in stages, in presidential systems, the voting public selects both the executive and legislative branches at the same time. The results of the legislative elections have no bearing on the composition of the executive branch. For example, in the US, it is entirely possible for one party to gain majority in Congress and for the other party to win the presidency. The potential for a split government in period of disagreement and can make the policy-making process difficult. The fusion of power that is so characteristic in parliamentary systems is not present in presidential democracies. Presidential systems operate under a very distinct separation of powers. The legislature controls the budget process, proposes and passes policy, appointments to the cabinet positions, and ratifies foreign treaties. The executive serves as the commander-in-chief of the national armed forces, appoints executive cabinet members and representatives of the Supreme Court. After his appointment is approved by the Congress and serves as the head of state government, governor, and the head of government, president. It is important to note that the executive is not split in this system. The Congress cannot remove the vote of confidence. In fact, Congress cannot remove the president from power at all. The only exception is in cases of criminal misconduct. One of the distinct powers available to the executive is the presidential veto. In order for a bill to become a law, it must be approved by a majority in both houses. Failure of approval in the Senate pushes the bill back to the House of Representatives. The cycle of disagreement will continue until both houses are able to modify the bill in a way that is mutually acceptable. Once a bill clears both the Senate and the House of Representatives, it is presented to the President, who has the power to veto or vote on the law. In India also we are following similar system, Rajya Sabha, Lok Sabha and all that. Okay. The presidential veto has long been a topic of debate among scholars, policymakers, and the voting public. According to critics, the overturn the ability of one man to overturn a policy which has been approved by electorally allowed representatives, appointed representatives, undermines the spirit of democracy. Another type of veto that is equally controversial is a line item veto, which allows the president to overturn portions of the law. Both types of vetoes are rarely used. Even though the president rejects a bill in its entirety, the Senate has the ability to reverse the veto by achieving a two-thirds majority of votes in favor. This vote is very difficult to achieve because of the majoritarian nature of the electoral system. Recall that in parliamentary democracies, parties win seats based on proportion of the vote that they win. In presidential democracies, parties win seats when they secure a majority of votes in local and state elections. The higher winning threshold results in two parties dominating the system. So while the balance of power is relatively half and half in both the houses, majority is needed to overturn a veto. It means that one party must convince members of one party to betray its comrades and vote in favor of the opposition. Thus, the Senate reversal of a presidential veto is quite hard-touched. The separation of power weakens political parties related to the executive. Political parties do not appoint the executive, though they do select a candidate to run for president. The president establishes a relationship of cooperation across both houses, but his survival in office does not depend on it. The majoritarian electoral system also has important implications for the ideology and level of representativeness of political parties. In parliamentary systems, the fact that appointment is based on proportional wins allows parties to refine their political message and focus on a specific portion of the population. There are some states that practice a form of democracy that does not fit into either the presidential or parliamentary prototype but contains elements of both. These systems are called as mixed systems. For semi-presidential democracies, the president is elected according to the rules of direct democracy. In this system, the executive exercises a broad range of powers. However, just as in the parliamentary system, he or she can be in Switzerland, the president is quite powerful and he cannot be removed from office by the legislature. Likewise, the president cannot dissolve the parliament. There are numerous other examples of mixed regimes where people have attempted to take the best attributes of each system and combine these attributes into one form of government. By this time, you must be wondering the type of system being practiced in India. Is it that democracy and whether it is parliamentary or presidential system? We have prime minister assisted by a group of ministers at the central level besides president as well as the vice president. Chief minister assisted by a group of ministers at the state level besides governor. Some states create the post of deputy chief minister too, which is rampant deviation from the constitution of India. In India, it's a fusion or hybrid of British system mixed with this kind of fusion is really confusing to a majority of Indian citizens. Is there any necessity for this unwanted fusion? It is a well-known fact that governors and president, vice president act as rubber stamps of the ruling political parties at the central and state level. In other words, they have mere formal powers but informally governed and controlled by ruling parties which act as puppet masters. In simple words, rights are the people which every cultural society recognizes as an essential mind for the development for which they are therefore for which and which are therefore enforced by the state. According to Lasky, rights are those conditions of social life without which no man can seek in general to be himself or his best. P.H. Green explained that rights are powers necessary for the fulfillment of man's vocation as a moral being. Denny Prasad stated the rights are neither nothing more or less than those social conditions which are necessary or favorable to the development of personality. Other moral theories like Isaiah Berlin defines rights in terms of positive liberties and negative freedoms. The positive right is an entitlement, a right to free expression. For instance, entitles one to voice opinions publicly. A negative right is a freedom of a person is a right to be free of bodily interference. Most rights are both positive and negative. Main features of rights exist only in society. These are the products of social living. Rights are claims of the individuals for the development in society. Rights are recognized by the society as common claims of all the people. Rights are rational and moral claims that the people make on the society. Since rights are here only in society, these cannot be exercised against. Rights are to be exercised by the people for the development, which really means the development in society with the promotion of social good. Rights can never be exercised against social good. Rights are equally available to all the people. The contents of rights keep on changing with the passage of time. Rights are not absolute. These always bear limitations deemed essential public health, security, order, and morality. Rights are inseparably related with the duties. There is a close relationship between them. No duties, no rights, no rights, no duties. If we have rights, it is my duty to respect the rights of others in society. Need enforcement, and only then these can be really used by the people. These are protected and enforced by the laws of the state. It is a duty of the state to protect the rights of the people. Theories of rights. There are compelling theories of rights offered by utilitarianism. For the utilitarian, the just action is that which, related to all other possible actions, maximizes the utility of the good. This is a utility principle. Utilitarianism is solely consequentialist. The justice or injustice of an action or state of affairs is determined exclusively on the consequences it brings up. This is utility just. On this account, therefore, rights are purely instrumental. It is also worth noting that many of the utilitarian traditions have expressed hostility to the notion of rights of any sort. Utilitarian will honor a right if and only if it will lead to the maximization of utility. This statement also indicates the limit of all rights. If a particular will not maximize utility, the utilitarian is obligated to violate that person's rights for the sake of utility. The point at which the letter of the right defeats the purpose is the point at which society may just curtail that right. Rights are limited by the utility principle. If the excess of a right maximizes the good, the right ought to hold. If it fails to do so, the right may be justly abridged. Challenges of the ultimate account of utilitarian account of rights argue that in some cases it extends rights too far and in other cases it rights unjustly. Kantianism, deontology. Kant proposes that the essence of morality is captured by what has been called the categorical imperative. In below paraphrase, this reads: act only on those rules of action that you could be universal law. The categorical imperative is for testing rules of conduct. It will exclude as immoral any rule of conduct that implies that one person may do something but another in relevantly similar circumstances may not. In other words, it demands consistency. What's all right for me is all right for you if our relevant circumstances are similar. If I may throw my toxic waste into the river to save money for myself, then you may do so likewise. But of course, I want you to do that as it will be wrong for me. This is relevant to human rights. Because we think of human rights as applicable, universality to human beings. Kant says that what is morally permissible applies to all rational beings. It is also relevant that this test tends to endorse rules of action that protect our most basic interests, just the sort of things that rights protect. Kantianism is an explicitly non-consequentialist ethic. Consequences of our actions are often determined by contextual factors beyond the control of the individual. Honor and blame are only coherent concepts, but the subject is responsible for what they have done. In all appeals to consequences, the locus of responsibility must necessarily be displaced in a broad array of factors, only one part of which is the agency of the individual in question. Moral responsibility for consequence, therefore, is incoherent. Ethics must be a matter of intentions, these being the only things we can evaluate without extrinsic influence. The right action, therefore, is that which is in conformity with our moral duty, regardless of consequence. In account of rights argues that in some cases it extends rights too far, and in other cases it restricts rights unjustly. In the groundwork for the metaphysics of morals, Kant argued to act only according to the maxim whereby one can at the same time will that it become a universal law. In other words, our own conduct is only ever just if we can, in all conscience, will that every other person acted in the same way. The same work, he also professed that one should trade humanity, never train, but always at the same time as an end. Similarly, our conduct is only just if in acting, we do not use any other person as a tool to achieve its, our own objectives. In common way, our moral duty is to only act where our actions are to set as outline. Universalizability and the aims means requirement. Lasky's theory of rights. Harold Lasky, an influential figure and creative writer of political science, has expounded the theory of rights, and it is in many respects a classical representative. He described rights as those conditions of social life without which no man can say, in general, to be himself or his best. Lasky calls rights as conditions of social life. Rights are social concept and deeply linked with social life. The idea of rights is established by the fact that individuals claim them for the development of the best self. He places rights, individuals and state on the same board, in the sense that they cannot be separated from each other and there is no antagonism between them. Lasky recommends the long theoretic view that the state has a very important role to play in the realization and therefore, before that, recognition of human rights. On legal of rights, Lasky examines the legal theory of state. The central principle of the legal theory of rights is that they completely depend upon the institutions and recognition of state. An individual cannot claim rights if those are not recognized by the state. Mere recognition, moreover, is not sufficient for the exercise of rights. The state must, through law and institutions, implement the rights. The most significant part of Lasky's theory is functional aspect of rights. It focuses on the relation between rights and duties. He stated that rights are correlated to functions. The functional theory emphasizes that an individual is entitled to claim rights only when he or she performs duty. Otherwise, the claim or demand for right cannot be entertained. This definitely opposes widely known theory of legal theory of rights. But today, rights are recognized and protected mainly on political considerations. Barker's theory of rights. Barker's view is not theoretically dissimilar from that of Lasky. Both are liberal philosophers, but Barker has a clear bias. The main purpose of every political organization called state is to see the personality of the individual gets ample scope for development. It is a duty of the state to guarantee and secure the conditions essential for the objective. These secured and guaranteed conditions are called rights. Individual's personality cannot develop automatically or under most antagonistic environment. Development of personality requires favorable conditions, and these are to be guaranteed by the state through the enactment of law. Barker also discusses the moral aspect of rights. He says that the law of the state helps me to secure, but rights are claims, and the origin is the individual himself. The individual is a moral person, and it is his determination that he will develop. She will develop its moral personality through the rights. His purpose is not to inflict any harm upon the society. The implication of moral being is he releases. Yeah, she. It's a okay. Best efforts for the general welfare of society. Types of rights, natural rights. People inherit several rights from nature. Before they came to live in society and state, they used to live in state of nature. In it, they appreciated certain natural rights like the right to life, right to liberty, and right to property. Natural rights are parts of human nature and reason. Moral rights. Moral rights are based on human consciousness. They are supported by the moral force of human mind. These are based on human sense of goodness and justice. These are not assessments of law. Sense of goodness and public opinion are the sanctions behind moral rights. If any person disturbs any moral right, no legal action can be taken against him. The state does not enforce these rights. Its courts do not recognize these rights. Moral rights include rules of good conduct, which are accepted and enforced by the state. Any defilement of any legal right is punished by law. Law courts of the state enforce legal rights. These rights can be enforced against individuals and also against the government. In this way, legal rights are different from moral rights. Legal rights are equally available to all the citizens. All citizens follow legal rights without any discrimination. They can go to the courts for getting the enforced. Legal rights are three types. Civil rights. Civil rights are those rights which provide opportunity to each person to lead a civilized social life. These fulfill basic needs of human life in society. Right to life, liberty, and equality. Civil rights are protected by the state. Political rights. Political rights are those rights by virtue of which inhabitants get a share in the political process. These allow them to take an active part of the political process. These rights include the right to vote, right to get elected, right to hold public office, and right to criticize and oppose the government. What are really available to the people in a democratic state? Economic rights. Economic rights are those rights which provide economic security to the people. These empower all citizens to make proper use of the civil and political rights. The basic needs of every person are related to his food, clothing, and shelter and medical treatment. Without the fulfillment, no person can really enjoy his civil and political rights. It is therefore essential that every person must get the right to work, right to adequate wages, right to leisure and rest, and right to social security in case of illness, physical disability, and old age. Contractual rights. Contractual rights originated from the practice of promise keeping. A particular individual to whom contractual promises have been made. It's all in written form normally. Contractual rights ascend from specific acts of contract making. Yeah, contract should be written up and signed by the involved parties. Duly formally come into being when the contract is made and they reflect the contractual duty that another party has acquired. At the same time, as a result of contract, party A acts a contractual duty, say, to deliver some good or services to party B, who has a contractual right to the good or service. Contractual rights may be upheld by the law and in that sense can rest, but it is possible to conceive of contracts made outside of a legal framework and to rest purely upon moral principles. However, such contracts are less secure than contracts made within a legal framework for obvious reasons. There are numerous examples of contractual rights, such as rights to purchase a particular product or service, rights to sell a product or service, rights to be the only seller or buyer, rights to delivery and timely payment, rights to refunds or repairs, various rights according to the specific intentions of each party. Concept of human rights. Human rights are those moral rights that are morally important and basic and that are held by every human being because they are possessed in virtue of the universal moral status of human beings. Human rights are one of the significant aspects of human political reality. It is the moral rights of highest order. Human rights are evolved out of self-respect. It is intrinsic to all humans without any discrimination of race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, religion, and color, etc. It repeats when human beings began to think themselves. Each and every human being is entitled to these rights without any discrimination. Human rights comprise of civil and political rights such as the right to life, liberty and freedom of expression, and social and cultural and economic rights, including the right to participate in culture, the right to food, and the right to work and receive an education. Human rights are protected and supported by international and national law, like UDHR, the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, which adopted in 1948 states human rights are rights derived from the inherent dignity of human person. Characteristics of human rights are inalienable. Alienable. Human rights are deliberated on an individual due to the very nature of his existence. They are innate in all individuals irrespective of creed, religion, sex, and nationality. Human rights are conferred to an individual even after its death. The different rituals in different religions bear testimony to this fact. Human rights are essential and necessary. Human rights are needed to maintain the moral, physical, social, and spiritual welfare of an individual. Human rights are also essential as they provide suitable for material and moral upliftment of the people. Human rights are associated with human dignity. To treat another individual with dignity, regardless of the fact that the person is a male or female, rich or poor, is concerned with human dignity. Human rights are irrevocable. Human rights are irrevocable as they cannot be taken away by any power or authority because these rights originate with the social nature of society of human beings and they belong to a person simply because he or she is a human being. As such, human rights have similarities to moral rights. Human rights are essential for the fulfillment of purpose of life. Human life is a purpose. The phrase human right is applied to those conditions which are essential for the upliftment of this purpose. No government has a take away the rights which are sacrosanct, inviolable, and immutable. Human rights are universal. Human rights are not a domination of any privileged class of people. Human rights are universal in nature, without constriction and without exception. The values such as dignity and equality, which form the basis of these rights, are human nature. Human rights are never absolute. Man, woman is a social animal, and he or she lives in a civic society, which always puts certain limitations on the enjoyment of his her rights and freedoms. Human rights, as such, are those limited powers or claims which are contributory to the common good and which are recognized and guaranteed by the state. So, as such, each right has certain limitations. Human rights are dynamic. Human rights are not stationary. At least they are dynamic. Human rights go on expanding with the social, eco, cultural, and political developments within the state. Judges are to construe laws in such ways as are in tune with the change of the social values. Rights as limit to state power. Human rights infer that every individual has legitimate claims upon his or her society for certain freedom and benefit. So human rights limit the state's power. These may be in the form of negative restrictions on the powers of the state, on the powers of state, and violating the inalienable freedom of the individuals are in the nature of demands of the state, costly obligations of the state. Principles of human rights: universality, inviolable, inalienable, indivisible, interdependent, interrelated, universality, inviolable, inalienable, indivisible, interdependent, interrelated, equality, non-discriminatory. Categories of rights. Human rights can be grouped into following categories: civil human rights, economic human rights, social and cultural human rights, development-oriented human rights. Fundamental rights in India include right to equality, right to freedom of religion, right to constitutional remedies. Now that all of you have a clear idea of human rights, flagrant violations of these rights are rampant in almost all. It is at a higher level in developing countries like India. I really wonder why UDHR, International Human Rights Council, UN, and judiciary officials are keeping quiet when the prime function is to govern, control, and prevent such violations. Common men and women should also protest to ensure the rights. As long as we act as witnesses and withstand all these dictatorship, savagery, and torture, it will only keep increasing. We are supposed to be living in 21st century, also known as space age. It is just a sheer window dressing saying that we are aware, and it is all documented. Whatever is documented should be enforced in real life. There is problem in enforcement. There is an absolute necessity like such perpetrators, whoever it might be. Capital punishment is a must to set right issues like this. I am looking forward to a revival of human rights through stringent actions, maybe in phases. Debates, discussion on open-ended topics like this can go on forever. Anyway, let me pull the plug here. We'll meet again real soon with another interesting topic. Some of the statements, views expressed are solely mine, based on limited knowledge gained over 6 decades. Always watch these videos in closed caption, subtitles for absolute 100% comprehension as my sincere recommendation zillion times so far. I know I rushed to complete the presentations in 20 minutes maximum. This time limit is self-imposed to read in the viewers' attention. Today I must have taken fully the time. I'm quite aware of the fact that I exceed this time limit. Sometimes I take double or even triple, as I told you. Maybe 3 times this limit, depending on the topic, since I make honest attempts to cover the selected topic more elaborately, including so many intricate fine details, covering a wide variety of sources, in particular Wikipedia quite extensively, besides articles and books published recently. Besides, of course, I sprinkle my own salt and pepper and season it with my personal experiences so far in my life and also in Jewish. Stay at home as much as possible to maintain social distancing, attribute to the pandemic now, and prolong your lifespan. Lead a healthy life. God, also known as the Supreme Power, is the one and only one who can put a stop to natural or unnatural, maybe bio-war and cyber-war events like that. Ultimately paves the way for apocalypse and extinction of all sentient species on Earth for no fault of others, rest in peace and harmony.